give everybody about a few minutes to join in so that an opportunity to listen to the presentation. So we'll probably get started about 5 after 10. While you're waiting, if you want to go ahead and under the handout section of the webinar control panel, there is the participant guide that you're going to need to follow along with for the budgeting portion of the presentation. So if you want to get that opened up now, please do so. All right, thanks so much for joining, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us on the second round for the Personal Finance and Budgeting webinar. I know many people did not have the opportunity to connect on the first go-round, so we are hosting a second one. I hope that everyone's doing well and staying safe. My name is Ana Gallego. I am your account manager with Texas Legal. On the line, we do have Diana Ignacio. She's our other account manager with Texas Legal. And we also have Mary Jo Mojica. She's our Workplace Solutions Manager with BBVA, who's going to host the financial portion of the webinar. Now, I know that many of us have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, so we did want to take this time to provide a few tips on how to best use your Texas Legal benefits during this hardship. Over the next hour, we will be doing a quick overview about your Texas Legal workplace benefits, and then we're going to pass it along to Mary Jo, who's going to be going over a few hot topics, such as how to build a budget and setting financial goals. We have provided the BBVA flyers along with a participant guide to use during the webinar. Those are available to you in the handout section, which is right above the chat section on the webinar control panel. If you have any questions during the presentation, we do ask that you write them down in the chat box. These are going to be addressed at the end of the presentation so that we have enough time to get through all the slides. If you have specific questions about your own policy, you can also reach out to our member services team via phone or email after the presentation. Now with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it along to Diana, who's going to be going over our Texas Legal benefits.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Ana. I would also like to thank all of our HR representatives that helped promote this webinar. We couldn't have done it without you, and we truly appreciate you. Just bear with us for a moment. Ana, can you go ahead and make me the presenter, please? All righty, let's go ahead and get started here. So our agenda is going to consist of a Texas Legal overview and benefits. Our guest speaker is BBVA Workplace Solutions Officer Mary Jo Mojica, and of course we're going to have Q&A at the end. So who is Texas Legal? We're a nonprofit founded in 1972, built by the lawyers of Texas to help Texans. Created and endorsed by State Bar of Texas, extensive attorney network, most comprehensive plan on the market, and we're a local provider of superior service. Our mission is to provide comprehensive, simple, affordable solutions with unmatched service to protect all Texans from legal risk and its financial implications in everyday life. So one of the problems that may arise is everyone needs legal help, but not everyone can afford to access it. Legal issues are common. In the last year, 70% of consumers have used a lawyer's help. Legal help is expensive. Average lawyer charges $280 an hour. For the middle class, legal help can either be out of reach or a financial disaster. So your solution would be to purchase Texas Legal now before anything occurs. It's like healthcare insurance, except our network has attorneys instead of doctors. You pay a low monthly premium, and the attorney's billable hourly rate is covered by the plan. Our legal network. Texas Legal offers a wide selection of attorneys in every area of law, hundreds of attorneys statewide. Members can also choose their own attorney. Their average experience is over 20 years. They're all required to be licensed in the state of Texas. And if you don't have an attorney in your area, you can use your out-of-network benefit. Texas Legal offers protection and peace of mind for every generation. Baby boomers may use real estate transactions and deeds, elder care issues, estate management and planning, guardianship of a grandchild. And millennials' legal and financial challenges may be family matters such as prenuptial agreements, divorce, adoption, buying or selling a home, or consumer protection. These are all benefits that we cover. We also offer identity theft monitoring and protection through Experian. Experian credit reported sign-up, credit monitoring, internet surveillance, identity restoration, Experian Identity Works extended care, also 1 million identity theft insurance. Experian is available to the named policy member and all the dependents on your policy. You are required to enroll separately. This information will be included in your welcome kit. Texas Legal and BBVA have a partnership that offers you a cash bonus to bank with BBVA. You can earn $100 when you open a new qualifying BBVA consumer checking account and set up and receive a qualifying direct deposit. Plus, you could earn an additional $25 by adding a BBVA savings account. You are required to be a Texas Legal member to receive these bonuses. Contact our dedicated member services team for your promo code if you are currently enrolled with Texas Legal. Plan details. The Select plan does include 100% of the estate planning package, identity theft monitoring and restoration, limited coverage for family law and civil law, discounts on legal fees for criminal, consumer, and financial law, 2 attorney consultations, 2 hours of general legal services, and the legal access line for legal guidance. The preferred plan also covers 100% of the estate planning package. Annual membership equals 10% of the typical estate planning cost. Identity theft monitoring and restoration, coverage for family law, criminal law, consumer, civil defense, and criminal defense. 4 attorney consultations, 6 hours of general legal services, and also the legal access line for legal guidance. If Texas Legal is offered to you by your employer, please contact your Human Resources Department for rates and plans offered. All others may contact our dedicated member services team at 1-800-252-9346. So how do employees sign up? If your premium is deducted from your paycheck, please contact your Human Resources Department for rates and enrollment process. Everyone else can enroll anytime. Easy online sign up at texaslegal.org/join. You definitely want to let us know that you heard about Texas Legal through your employer and you want to give us your employer's name to receive the correct rates. Now, if Texas Legal is not offered by your employer, please tell us how you heard about Texas Legal. Members will receive their member welcome packet by mail within 2 weeks. Now, of course, right now with COVID-19, we do ask that you give us a little bit more time, but we do send you an email with all your information as well. All applications received by the 25th of any month are effective the 1st of the following month. If you have any questions, members can always call our customer service line at 1-800-252-9346 or email members at texaslegal.org or visit our website at texaslegal.org. I'm going to go through some frequently asked questions really quick. How do I find a participating attorney? You can visit our website at texaslegal.org. You're going to click on the Attorney Finder link at the top right-hand corner. You're going to load your criteria in the quick search box. Click Search, and all your attorneys will populate. Once you decide what attorney you'd like to go see, all you have to do is call them, let them know that you are insured with Texas Legal, and make your appointment. It's really important for you to tell them you are insured with Texas Legal because we don't want them to bill you, okay? When can I use the plan? Everyone is effective the 1st of the following month, and all benefits are available except for the bankruptcy, which has a 3-month waiting period, and the divorce and modification has a 6-month waiting period. Only people that can use The divorce and modification is the named participant. No one else on the policy can use that benefit. Pre-existing matters are not covered but are eligible for a 25% discount as long as it is not an excluded matter. Does my spouse need to be on my policy to have his will drafted? Yes, your family needs to be insured in order to use any benefits. We have a joint estate planning benefit for married couples. Just like health insurance, if you do not add them to your policy, they have no benefit. Can I add my parents to the policy? Unfortunately, no. A family policy is considered your spouse and any dependent children, stepchildren up to the age of 26. Now keep in mind, anyone can purchase our independent policy. Do I have to re-enroll each year? No, you will only have to enroll once and not every year. We will continue to draft from the bank account credit card you provided. Now, if your premium is deducted from your paycheck, please contact your Human Resources Department for re-enrollment process. What fees am I responsible for? You will have to pay the attorney for all incidental costs such as copying, faxing, postage, notarization, filing fees, court costs, etc. And then, of course, it depends on the plan that you purchased. We suggest you discuss this with the attorney you hire. How often can I use the plan? Each benefit is available once per plan year. You can consult with your HR department to ask them what your plan year is. Everyone on your policy is sharing all the benefits. Can I keep the plan if I retire? Yes, the plan is portable. You have the option of staying under your group or convert to an independent plan. If your premium is deducted from your paycheck, please contact Texas Legal. On behalf of Anna and I, we thank you for participating on this webinar with us. We truly appreciate you. Our contact information, our phone number is 1-800-252-9346. Our email is members@texaslegal.org. Our website is texaslegal.org. And also follow us on Facebook for live Facebook events that we're holding right now. I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Mary Jo now with BBVA so that she can do her portion.
Thank you so much, Diana and Anna. Is everyone able to hear me right now? If you are, I want to test out our chat function because our workshop will be, it requires a little bit of participation on your part. So in the chat function, feel free to type in a hello or a hi or something that lets me know that you are here with us. And while we're doing that, I'm going to get my screen going here for you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So again, thank you very much for the partnership with Texas Legal. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Diana. Again, my name is Mary Jo Mojica. I'm the Workplace Solutions Officer for BBVA, and I cover a territory in Central Texas, and I'm very excited to be able to share this budgeting workshop with you. With the current climate, it's more important now so than ever to be able to have some different skills or utilize some skills that you might need to take out of your back pocket and dust off. And so this workshop is very comprehensive. It covers the unsophisticated up to the very sophisticated, and by way of budgeting, as far as budgeting is concerned. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Bear with me. Nice. All right, so budgeting, very key important part of building and maintaining financial strength, no matter what our personal situation is. And knowing how to create and use a budget will help us better manage our money and get closer to reaching your financial goals. So we're going to learn about some skills that will help us manage money and improve our overall understanding of how to achieve and maintain financial health. So let's get going here. Bear with me one quick second. Okay, I apologize for that. Okay, so in our workshop today, we are going to cover some different topics. So we're going to talk about how to use a 5-step plan to create and manage a budget, how to understand different types of expenses, needs versus wants, and how to set spending and savings goals, strategies to improve savings and manage debt, and strategies to improve and maintain your financial health. So since you may not have all the necessary information personally right now in front of you to create and build your own budget, since you're probably in a working environment right now, we're going to use some different scenarios with different characters, 2 different characters named Marta and with Marta to start off with, and to help us learn more about using and practicing with a budget. So managing and improving your personal finances is an achievable goal, and this workshop will teach you some of the steps and strategies to budget wisely and productively. Budgeting is a big part of personal financial management, but before we dive in and talk about the budgeting and using a budget, let's talk about what a budget is and what it's used for. Okay. So first, we'll begin with the what, the why, and the when of budgets. So then we're going to go on to the next section to explore the how. So what is a budget? Well, the word budget has a couple different meanings. It can mean an estimate of income and expenses for a set period of time. It can also be a financial roadmap or a way to plan or track for your spending and savings. Developing a budget can also help identify ways to reduce your spending and or increase your savings. For example, I budget $300 for groceries. So why should I use a budget? Well, a budget will help you see exactly what you are spending your money on. It helps you determine how much money you spend on a certain thing, such as rent or utilities. But it can also help you create a savings plan and to allocate a certain amount of money, maybe specifically for a specific purpose. It can also help identify ways to pay off credit card or other debt. So when can we use a budget? Glad you asked. Budgets can be used regularly and should be, and they should be used to help maintain good financial practices, or they can be used to help reach a specific and achieve a specific goal, such as saving for maybe a new car or a new computer, maybe a wedding reception. So in this workshop, we're going to examine a budget worksheet. It's a financial plan to help you understand how much you should spend or save on each month. Using a budget worksheet and taking action to plan for spending and savings are helpful ways to manage your personal finances and progress towards those financial health strategies and strengths. So let's go ahead and get started. So there are creating a budget and using a budget or a financial plan is a very helpful way to identify and improve that financial situation like we discussed. So it should help make you more aware of your financial habits. And it may help you find ways to decrease debt and save for the future. Building a budget doesn't have to be complicated. There are 5 basic steps, and you probably already do quite a few of these things already. But the first step that we want to start with is getting organized. So ask yourself this: do you know where your important financial documents are, such as tax returns or W-2s, maybe your loan documents? Do you have a system to keep these documents organized so that they're easy to find? Where do you safely store these documents? Have you identified how long you might need to keep them before throwing them away, or shredding them probably would be the safer choice? Me personally, I'm a paper hoarder. I hold on to every document probably way longer than I should. And so that is always a step that I struggle with, is getting and staying organized personally. The next step is we want to list our income. So ask yourself this: do you have an honest accounting of how much money you make each month after taxes? Your income may include sources such as wages, tips, public assistance, child support, alimony, Social Security, or maybe part-time jobs or different hobbies that might bring in a little bit of revenue. It's very important to account for every source of income that you have coming in. The next step is not always a fun part, but an extremely important part of this step of our process is listing our expenses. So ask yourself this: do you know exactly how much money you spend each month? Do you spend most of your money on necessities such as rent, car payments, childcare, insurance, and groceries? Or do you spend more than you should on things like wants, such as meals or restaurants or clothing? So this is a good opportunity to get acquainted with what your expenses are and have an honest conversation with yourself. The next step, step 4, is list your savings. So ask yourself this: do you have any money left over after all of your expenses are paid each month? Do you know how much you set aside for savings each month as well? And do you have a savings account or another method of saving? The last step in our process is to list our debt. So again, ask yourself this: do you have any loans, mortgages, or credit card debt? And do you know exactly how much total debt you owe? So when you've collected all your necessary documents, on page 9 of your participant guide is a budget worksheet. So you can utilize this budget worksheet to answer some of these questions whenever you have that opportunity. But first, let's look at an example to understand how to prepare for and make a budget. So as I mentioned before, we're going to use Marta's story to learn some strategies and get organized. So I want you to keep in mind as we go over Marta's story, this is very small and basic numbers for demonstration purposes and for easy math purposes. Marta's story will likely not personally match your story, but it's a great example and a good easy number basis point. So keep that in mind as we're going through Marta's story. So Marta is a 40-year-old woman who works 2 jobs, one at a grocery store and another as a hostess at a restaurant. Marta often feels overwhelmed by her large debt. She has also paid her bills late in the past. One reason is that her personal finances are not very organized. So let's see how this 5-step plan that we talked about can help her better understand her options, behaviors, and solutions. So Marta recognized that her old system of paying bills wasn't working because she often missed due dates and incurred late fees. So she decided to develop a system that would work effectively each month to help her stay on top of her bills. So she collected all of her paperwork related to her monthly income and expenses, so all of her financial documents would be in one place. So step 1, right? She got organized. She decided to use file folders and a box dedicated to this purpose. She found a few recent months of pay stubs, bills, receipts, and then she printed out her credit card and bank statements from her online accounts. So in this next activity, we are going to identify the documents that Marta might need to make her budget. So remember, she only needs documents that will help her track her spending and earning, because that's the first step in our, or the second step in our process. So referring to Marta's story in your participant guide, go ahead and circle or identify the documents that you think that she will need to hone in on her spending and her earnings. So we want to look at the things that are going to help her with that process. So I'll give you a second. Feel free to use the chat box if you like. So Marta will need things like her loan statements, right? Her receipts, her bills, any Social Security benefits, receipts or bank statements and pay stubs, any credit card statements. So Marta needs her credit card statements, bills, loan statements, and all these receipts and all of this stuff to show what her debt and her expenses are. She also needs her pay stubs and bank statements and any Social Security receipts to fully show her income. Very important step. So once Marta has organized all of her financial paperwork in a separate and labeled folder for each category, she has completed step 1 and has all the information she needs to continue through steps 2 through 5 for her budget plan. How many of you have a pretty good organization system, or how many of you feel like you need an additional organization system? I always feel like I'm refining mine personally. So moving on, so now we're going to look at how Marta made her budget. So Marta's sample budget will help us learn how to build, use, and manage our own personalized budget. So after each step, think about how you personally might use your budget worksheet that's in page 9 of your participant guide. And think about that with your own finances when you get home, or when you have the opportunity to do that if you're working from home, and use that information to accurately fill out that worksheet. It's just for your best benefit. So let's see. So page 4 of your participant guide is Marta's budget plan. So we just learned how Marta completed step 1 to get organized with the 5 steps of budgeting process, right? Step 1. So next we're going to examine the remaining budgeting steps and learn how Marta used them. So step 2, we talked about listing income, and income refers to all of the money that she collects from any sources such as paycheck, Social Security, benefits, whether it's biweekly or weekly. We want to calculate all of that to become a monthly figure. So in Marta's case, she gets paid every 2 weeks. She has no other forms of income. And Marta's strategy for tracking her income was to add up her pay stubs to determine her monthly income and list that in the income column. So on your screen or in your participant guide, you can see Marta's monthly income is $2,000. So now her next step is to list her expenses. And of course, the expenses refer to the amount of money that she spent each month on bills and other items. So it's helpful to think of expenses in 2 categories, as we referred to a little bit earlier: your needs and your wants. So needs are things that are very necessary. So things like health, for your health and well-being, like electricity, transportation, mortgage payments or rent payments, groceries, childcare, things of that nature. So wants are things that you can live without, such as maybe dinners at restaurants or beauty products, lottery tickets. Sometimes you can have a want that can actually turn into a need. So those things can be ever changing. For example, a new winter coat could be a want, but if your child outgrows their winter coat, then it can become a need. I feel like an example of blue jeans for little boys is probably a better example, since in Texas, winter coats aren't always needed as often, at least in Central to South Texas. So which of Marta's expenses and wants, which of Marta's expenses are wants and which ones are needs? So looking at our screen here or in your participant guide, we have it listed out. So clearly things that are wants include things like coffee, dining out, entertainment, clothing, and beauty products. But Marta's needs include rent, groceries, utilities, car payments, and health insurance, both of those. So Marta came up with a strategy for determining her expenses, which are her needs, and she used things like receipts and bills and credit card statements to determine how much she actually spent the previous month on her needs, and listed them in the appropriate spaces on her worksheet. The total dollar amount for Marta's needs, as you can see on your screen, is $1,220. The total amount of Marta's wants totaled up to $210. So what are Marta's total expenses? Well, Marta's total expenses equal her needs plus her wants. So that $1,220 plus that $210. So she has a total expense amount of $1,430. Are you tracking with me so far? For some reason, I can't really see comments in the chat function. So if you're using that function, thank you. I just, for some reason, I'm not able to see. But so moving on, for $1,430 is her total amount. So briefly to chat about disposable income. Disposable income is the amount of money left over after paying all of your expenses, which expenses we really want to kind of focus on the needs. So disposable income is money available to spend on wants, to put into savings, or you can use your disposable income for savings, for other wants, or to do things like paying down debt. it is possible for the amount of disposable income to be zero in some cases. In some cases, it can even be a negative number. So creating and using this budget will help us find ways to make that amount positive in the future. So what is Marta's disposable income after paying her needs? Marta's total income is $2,000, her total needs are $1,220, and her disposable income after paying all of her needs, $2,000 minus $1,220, is $780. So she can spend that amount either on wants, put it in savings, or paying down debt. Marta's disposable income after paying her wants, so Marta spent $210 on her wants of her $780. So her remaining disposable income is $570. Hope you're tracking with me there. So yeah, so she's got $570 to use as disposable income after all of her needs and wants are paid for, according to Marta's story. So savings will refer, that's our next step, is to list our savings. And savings refers to the money that is set aside each month for safekeeping in a specific savings purposed account, or maybe in an emergency fund. Depositing money into an interest-earning savings account at a financial institution is one way to help increase that savings for your future. After paying her bills, which are her needs, and after spending money on extras, like her wants, Marta has $570 of disposable income left over. Marta has been putting aside, as you can see from your screen, $100 per month into an interest-earning savings account. What will Marta's total savings be after 12 months of doing this? Well, $100 times 12, you guessed it, $1,200 plus interest, by the way. So what is the amount of Marta's disposable income after putting money towards savings? So after Marta puts that $100 into her savings account every month from her $570 of disposable income, now she's got $470 of disposable income left. Keep that in mind. So next, our last step is to list our debt in our 5-step process. So debt is any amount owed to a person or an institution. So examples of debt include things like car loans, credit card balances, even money that you may have borrowed from a friend or a family member. So earlier in step 3, when we listed the expenses, Marta indicated that she pays $200 towards her credit card debt and $100 towards her student loans. So keep in mind that loans and debt usually have minimum monthly payments that you must pay, but we'll go into that in some more detail later on when we talk about debt repayment. So Marta's total debt is $7,700. So this leaves Marta with $170 of disposable income left after she makes these payments towards her credit card and her student loans. So what are some possible uses that Marta can do with that $170 after all of Marta's expenses and debts are paid in once? So some possible ideas could be things like putting that full amount, full $170 into savings. She can add more to her savings every month. Another possibility is she can put that full amount towards a credit card payment or a student loan payment. Or she has the option to spend that total amount on wants if she wanted to. Or she could apply the money towards a combination of both, or of all three: savings, debt payments, or wants, or any combination of those that she would like to do. The choice is up to her. The great thing is she has $170 of disposable income that she can make the choice with. So later on, we're going to provide guidance on how to reduce debt, but first we're going to examine how Marta could better allocate her funds for each category to be more effective with her money and improve her financial situation. So far we've seen how Marta has used that 5-step process to get her current financial snapshot. So she knows exactly what her financial snapshot is, how much money she has coming in, how much her expenses are, how much savings she has, all of that after she's paid all of her bills, and we know what disposable income she has. So now we're going to look at some other ways that Marta can maybe adjust her budget and improve her financial situation. So there's a couple of different strategies that we're going to look at here. The first one is what is called our 50-30-20 rule. So one budget recommendation is to try to spend no more than 50% of your after-tax income dollars on needs, no more than 30% on wants, and at least 20% on savings or debt repayment. So I'm just going to pause and mention that we're going to look at another strategy after this one. And these are just two strategies that might work for you. So these strategies, these models will kind of give you some idea of how they work. So you're welcome to take either one of these home and apply it to you should you choose. But they're great training wheels for your personal finance budget. So yeah, with that, we'll go on. So if you turn to page 4 with Marta's Budget Plan and Participant Guide and use that as reference, and keep in mind that Marta takes home $2,000 every month after taxes. So according to the 50-30-20 rule, $2,000 of income, keep in mind, how much can Marta spend on her needs? So according to this rule, no more than 50% of her income should be spent on needs. So that would be $1,000. So how much should Marta spend on her wants? So if she's bringing $2,000 in a month, and our model here recommends no more than 30% of income on wants, then $600 is what Marta's limit should be for her wants. Going forward with our 50-30-20 rule, how much should Marta spend on savings/debt repayment? So this model recommends at least 20% of income on savings and debt repayment, right? So 20% of her $2,000 a month would be $400 allocated towards savings or debt repayment. So let's take a look. How do you think Marta is doing on her 50-30-20 rule? So using this rule, well, let's take a look. So as we said, no more than 50% or $1,000 should be spent on needs, but she's currently spending, excuse me, no more than 50% should be spent on needs, but she's currently spending $1,220 on needs. So her needs included things like her rent and utilities. So Marta might consider, if she wants to stick to this rule, she might consider looking for a housing that has maybe a lower rent payment, or considering alternative grocery options, or reduce costs by exploring and shopping around for different utilities, or maybe using public transportation, and maybe even shopping around for lower car insurance. So if she's committed to this rule, that might be some options that she has to try to reduce some of her needs. Again, no more than 30% or $600 should be used for her wants. So Marta is currently spending $210. This is great. So she's well under her budget of 30% for her wants. So Marta might consider using some of that extra money to save for, or to save more, or to put off, to pay off some more of her debt. Going on, the 20% function of this budget is no more than $400 for Marta's situation, and should be used for paying debts or savings, or putting towards savings. She's currently hitting this target by making $300 in debt payments and putting $100 into savings. So she's right on target there. So as you can see, this 50-30-20 rule may identify some areas where you should be reducing your spending, but it can also help you find some additional money in your budget to put towards savings or debt repayment. So let's look at another strategy and examine another way that we can create a personalized budget. This is a pretty broad one. And so the next one that we have is our categories method. And this one's a little bit more detailed and specific. So this method this breakdown is more specific with these percentages and these categories, and it allocates income according to the detailed needs of a person's household. So by thinking about the specific categories that you spend your money on each month, you can predict how much of your income can be left over for savings or making adjustments to meet your goals. So here's an example of the category budget. So 30% for housing, 10% for utilities and other housing expenditures, including renter's insurance, 10% for groceries, 10% for transportation, including car loans, 10% for debt repayment, things like student loans or credit cards, 10% for saving, 5% for dining out, 5% for car insurance and miscellaneous auto expenses, 5% for clothing, 5% for entertainment. So using Marta's budget plan on page 4 of your participant guide, we can use the categories method to see how Marta's doing. And remember, her total income is $2,000. So for her, housing at 30% is $600, and she spends $600 right on the nose for housing. For utilities, 10% is $200, and she spends $200. Marta has a 10% or $200 to spend for her groceries, and she's hitting that target as well. Dining out, 5% is $100, and she spends $70, so she's coming in under budget there. Me personally, I have a big family, and eating out one time would blow my 5% budget. Transportation 10% at $200, she spends right on the nose at $200. Car insurance, 5% at $100, and she spends $120. Maybe it's worth Marta looking at an option to shop around for better car insurance rates. Debt repayment, 10% is spent and or 10% is allocated at $200, and she's spending $300. A little over budget there. Savings, 10% is $200, and she is spending $100, so she has some room to save some more. Clothing, 5% is $100, and she's spending right on target at $100. And entertainment is 5% at $100, and she's spending below that at $40. So these categories can be easily adjusted to suit your personal needs. So for example, you might have a childcare expense or educational expense, or you might be one of the lucky ones and have no debt. So your numbers will definitely be different. Everyone's will be case sensitive and specific to yourself. So ideally, Marta should increase her savings, and she should also look at ways to reduce some of her expenses. So the 50-30-20 rule and the categories method, they're both two different ways to help you create a personalized budget. Sometimes we just need those training wheels to get started if we haven't done it in a while. So these are a couple different strategies that you can use. But so next, though, we're going to talk about and examine goal setting as a way to personalize your budget for the future. So an important, super important section to include in any of your personalized budget is your financial goals. So while the budgeting worksheet that's in your participant guide is a great tool that documents your spending, expenses, and savings, your goals are the guiding force behind them. So changing money habits can be a big challenge. It can feel daunting, it can feel impossible. But one way to make that change easier and more lasting is to have a personal and meaningful goal to motivate you. Setting goals can help you achieve financial strength, and goals don't just happen by chance. They happen through careful planning, patience, and commitment. So having goals can help people be more mindful of their spending and control habits such as impulse buying, because your goals are a reminder of the reason that you're saving. So if you take time to set financial goals that are meaningful to you, for example, to work maybe towards saving for a new laptop, or maybe a wedding or something of that nature, then the small sacrifice of skipping the cafe on the way to work might become a little bit easier. With stronger motivations, you will save money not just because your budget indicates that you should, but because you have a specific goal in mind when something comes up for something that you really, really want or want to work towards. Goals typically fall into 3 categories, as you can see on your screen. Short-term goals can be accomplished in a couple months, or maybe even up to 2 years. Examples include saving for things like a birthday gift, or maybe a new car, or a down payment for a home. So most of your goals will be personal to your lifestyle and preferences, but we recommend a couple of important goals. Creating an emergency fund is one, and paying down debt if you have it is another. So wherever those fall in the short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals, you can kind of see on your screen that the timeframes that you kind of expect those goals to be reached, depending on what your situations are. So Marta wasn't spending a lot of money on her wants, but once she created her short, medium, and long-term goals, she found that it was even more important to reduce expenses and increase her savings. Things like emergencies, they can appear at any time, and they can include things like car repairs or medical bills, or maybe your partner's loss of income, especially in this predicament that we're in now. There's a lot of that happening. Therefore, it's always wise to have extra savings set aside specifically for emergencies. Personally, my family bought a truck in December, and just since December 28th, when we bought the truck, we've had to replace 2 tires. One was just night before last, and it's a big truck, and those tires are not we're not exactly in our budget initially to plan for within the first 6 months of having a truck. So definitely having that emergency fund is something important to do. And watch when you're turning corners at the Popeyes chicken, because they have a curb there. Busted a tire. Anyway, moving on. So some examples of short-term goals, like I kind of mentioned a little bit ago, things like a friend's wedding present, maybe a short-term goal, maybe buying a new phone, paying off some credit cards. Medium-term goals can be things such as maybe paying off student loans, buying a new computer, or taking a vacation. And a long-term goal could be something like saving up for a down payment on a house, or buying a new car. So think to yourself, even if now is a good time, and jot it down, some of the ideas of your short and medium and long-term goals. And if not now, definitely do that when you get home, and maybe talk about it with your family, or your partner, your spouse, whomever. And write these things down. Writing it down on the sheet that we have provided for you in page 10 of your participant guide, writing it down can become very powerful and help put some thought and emotion behind what you're doing, and help you stay on track better. So some other goals that you might have might be things like retirement. And sometimes that's something that we don't always think about in the forefront, but just something else maybe to add to the mix. So when you see your goals written down, they can sometimes be overwhelming, but they can also be very inspiring. So having financial goals can help you plan by adjusting some of your current spending and saving habits. So goals, like I said, they can motivate you, they can change your mindset and behaviors and habits, but if you have a lot of debt, your goals can also feel very discouraging. How can you even think about saving for the future when you currently owe so much money? While debt can seem overwhelming at times, paying off debt and staying out of debt are actually very achievable goals. We're going to talk about a couple of methods that can help you become debt-free. So we're going to move on and talk about that. So as you see on your screen, we've got a couple of different strategies here. Again, these are some good training wheels and guidelines for you to take home when you are assessing your debt. And so the ladder method and the snowball method, you may have heard of the snowball method. The ladder method, if you're familiar with Dave Ramsey, is also very similar, basically the same thing as debt avalanching. So kind of keep that in mind as we go through. So the first step in paying off debt is having a realistic picture of what your current financial situation is. So again, why we created our budget, why we looked at all of our expenses and gathered all the information. So with the ladder method, otherwise known as debt avalanching, the way that this works is you're going to list all of your debts from your highest interest rate to your lowest interest rate. As normal, you're going to determine the percentage of income that you've allocated to debt payment when creating your budget. So this is maybe your disposable income, like in Marta's case, was $170. And then you're going to ensure that all your other monthly minimum payments are made. Actually, that's what you're going to do first. Ensure that all your payments are made in each of your debt categories. And after all your expenses are covered, consider using that disposable income left over to pay off the loan with the highest interest rate first. So with Marta, and looking back at page 6 for strategies of paying off debt, let's look again at Marta's debt to illustrate how these two different methods could help her pay her debt down. So looking at Marta's debt worksheet for the ladder method, so let's help her determine which debt she should pay off first using this method. So the ladder method strategy includes, like I said, listing debts in order from the highest interest rate to the lowest interest rate. Marta's credit card A has the highest interest rate. So after she's paid all of her expenses and loan payments, Marta should put the entire $170 of her disposable income towards the balance on that credit card. Another debt reduction method is the snowball method. So in this case, you're going to list all of your debts again, but this time from the smallest balance to the largest balance. Again, the other one, you're listing it from the largest interest rate to the smallest interest rate. And now we're going to flip-flop and do the smallest balance to the largest balance. And just like before, you're going to make sure that all of your expenses are paid and all of your obligations are met for the month. And with your disposable income, then you start paying down the smallest balance first. So again, referring back to page 6 with strategies for paying off debt in your participant guide, Marta's debt worksheet for the snowball method, we're going to look at that. So the snowball method suggests for Marta that her credit card B, it has the smallest balance, right? After paying the minimum monthly payments for her credit cards and student loan debt, Marta should put her remaining disposable income of $170 towards that credit card. So for Marta's situation, which method do you think works best? So sometimes it's hard to tell, at least for my own finances, I always go back and forth which method is better for me. But the snowball method may help Marta feel like she's making more progress because she could potentially pay off one entire credit card B in her case, in 1 to 3 months. However, she is paying more for credit card A, which has a higher interest rate. So for Marta, using the latter method would actually help her save more money in the long run. So I encourage you to go back home and look at the different ways in your different situations of which one of these methods will help you better. So like many people starting a new project, Marta now feels committed and excited about her financial planning. But as with any project, sometimes it's hard to maintain momentum. So let's look at some ways to help encourage some healthy habits. So the key to finding success in personal finance is having daily, weekly, and monthly check-ins with yourself to remain connected to your goals on top of your habits. That's really the best tried and true way to make sure. So once you have created your budget, you've personalized it to your lifestyle, you've set your goals, and you become very mindful of your own money habits, it's essential that you regularly check in. By keeping on top of your receipts, your bills, your credit card statements, your bank statements, and debt totals, you should be better positioned to improve your financial situation. So compiling those receipts, if you have them daily, totaling them up along with your other bills each week can make tracking your monthly income and expenses more efficient. You should also review your bills and credit card statements to make sure that there are no mystery purchases or mistakes. And we're kind of seeing that happen a lot more right now when people are fraud is already bad, but now with COVID-19, people are getting even crazier. So definitely review your statements. And after writing down your goals and making a plan to accomplish them, you may need some help. So some people to seek advice from a financial institution or a financial advisor, those are great people, and they can give you some great advice on certain products that can help you meet these goals, maybe like a retirement account or a higher yielding interest bearing account. So some other people also like to contact nonprofits for credit counseling agencies to help them regain control of their situation. But don't feel like you're making any sacrifices when you budget. Instead, I want you to think about budgeting as a way to keep you on track to meet those goals and earn the things that you really, really want. So page 11 of your participant guide, Maintaining Financial Strength and Health, refer to that. So what do you think would help you personally develop or improve healthy habits? So there's lots of strategies, right? So today we covered many of those steps, tools, strategies, and different behaviors that positively affect your personal finances if you use it regularly. So I encourage you to have those daily check-ins with yourself. For me personally, if I wait more than a week to look at my account and reconcile it, then I start to drown and feel overwhelmed and feel like I can't catch back up. Although I'll force myself to, but it doesn't feel as good as staying on top of it, sometimes daily or every couple of days, but at least for me, once a week. So I encourage you to take the time to use some of these tools and strategies. And improving your financial situation is an extremely achievable goal. And with thoughtful attention and regular maintenance and improved habits, you can get there. So once you get a clear and honest picture of where your money is and where it's being spent by using these tools and these budgeting guides, then you can take the steps to make the changes, such as reducing that unnecessary expenses, or increasing savings, or paying off debt that is causing a higher interest rate to cause you to spend more money in the long run. So setting these personal goals, meaningful goals that is, that will help you stay motivated and on track both in the short term and long term. Again, the regular check-ins, seeking help from a professional and in the financial world are also additional ways to become informed and aware of your financial situation. So with that, as I mentioned earlier, I'm one of those financial people that is a resource for you. So my contact information was in one of the slides. So in fact, I can go back to it for you. So feel free to email or reach out to me with any questions that you might have. And I really want to thank you for the time that you have your time on this call with us. And I wanted to open it up, Anna and Diana, for any questions for Texas Legal in that respect, or any questions for me as it pertains to BBVA. And otherwise, that's all that I have for you. Again, I'm really grateful for the time. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Anna, Diana?
Thank you, Mary Jo. Now, there were some questions coming in. They were only able to send them through the questions function. I was able to assign those to you, Mary Jo. So if you can't see them, let me know, and I'm going to read them out loud so that you can answer them.
Sure. I unfortunately, I see some activity, but it's things telling me that, oh, will we have access to this PowerPoint afterward? Yes, I am happy to send this PowerPoint to you. It's also, most of this material is in the participant guide, but I'm happy to send this PowerPoint over. I'm assuming Anna and Diana, would that be acceptable for you as well with the Texas Legal information?
Yeah, so everyone who attended is going to have access to the presentation recording. Once that's been uploaded, it is going to send them a copy of the presentation. So it's going to go over everything we went through.
Perfect. Are there other questions? That's the only question that I see.
Yeah, so from John Sutton, he asked, are there consolidation offers received in the mail, often with lower interest rates, a good way to lower payments and pay off debt?
Absolutely, those can be some great options. You know, checking with your financial institution, making sure that reading the fine print on any of those kind of offers is very important. But anytime that you have an opportunity to consolidate debt with a lower interest rate and have one payment, that's always a great option. Just be sure that you're looking for things like, when does that interest rate change? What kind of annual fees are associated with it? So reading the fine print is always important when it comes to that. And also kind of looking at what your personal goals might be. Is it paying off debt? Is it getting your credit repaired? Things like that. So, but that's always a great way to, have one payment, reduce some debt, or reduce some interest rate, percentages there. So that's always a helpful thing.
Thank you. Now we have another one from Cedric. He wanted to know, are there any budget apps that you know about that can help?
So actually, within, not to toot the BBVA's horn too loud, but within BBVA's mobile app, there are budgeting tools within the app that help allocate or help you see where you're spending your money, and also can help you create budgets. So our mobile app is pretty awesome. It's an award-winning one, and so I use that personally. some other financial institutions have kind of jumped on the bandwagon by offering some of those type of what's the word I'm looking for? Features within their app for budgeting. But I can just attest to the BBVA one. The great thing about our BBVA mobile app is when you bank with us and say you still bank at another institution, you can add that institution's profile onto our mobile banking app. And so you can really get a true picture of all of your spending and earning for that budget. So it's a pretty cool feature that we have. So I hope that helps.
Thank you. Now, we had one coming in from Jeff. He wanted to know, are the percentages that you mentioned based on the gross or net income?
It's going to be your net income after your taxes are paid, or maybe your insurance and things like that. That's your take home money. So after whatever your paycheck tells you, that's how much you want to go off of, not what you make annually, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Now from Rona Walton, she wanted to know, what is the formula for the 50-30-20 rule?
So the formula is taking, so the 50, let me just make sure I read it correctly. I don't want to tell you wrong. So 50% of your income, it should be used towards needs, 30% towards wants, and 20% towards savings. That's also that'll be in the presentation whenever you email it out, everyone as well. So it's one of the slides, and it should be in the participant guide, I believe, as well. But yeah, so again, it's a good guideline. But 50% on your income, 30% on 50% of your income on needs, 30% on wants, and 20% on savings and debt repayment.
Awesome. Now, we have one that came in from Melissa. I'm not sure what she was referring to, but she said, which method do you recommend? Are they both effective, or does one seem to work better than the other?
So that's a hard question to answer, because it is all kind of depends on your personal goals and what your personal finances look like, maybe how big your household is. I think that for maybe a more simple budget, or like a less complex, maybe less complex household of budget and income and expenses, maybe the 50-30-20 rule would be a good broad start, and kind of play with it, see which one works better, where your categories hit. The more detailed one with the different percentages, then you can also try that out. There's no harm in creating both and kind of seeing where your money hits, just like we did with the examples. Same with the debt snowball and the ladder method as far as debt repayment is concerned. One thing that I personally did is I just, on an Excel spreadsheet, I listed all of my debts that had interest rates attached to them, and I hit the sort button and sorted it according to the interest rate, and then I did the other one according to the balance, and that's how I determined which one was better for me. And I kind of keep track of it on a archaic Excel spreadsheet for me personally, and that's how I know which one I'm paying off. And I also like to see the numbers reduce. And I have gone back and forth, like, okay, I've gotten further on this. I paid off this credit card and doing the snowball method and paid off the smallest one first. But then I'm like, oh, you know what? Let me crunch the numbers and look and see how much I'm actually spending on interest. And so then I flip-flopped and gone back to the ladder method and done that for a few months to make a dent in it. There's really no right or wrong. They're both very effective, and starting one and seeing how it goes. And also sometimes it's more satisfying and you feel more motivated if you see a credit card paid off and you're like, yes, I can do this. And take that amount of money that you paid off, that, for instance, with Marta's story, she paid $170, she had $170 disposable income. So continuing to use that disposable income plus whatever the minimum payment that she was making, and add that to the next category, and paying that off that next card. So it kind of is personal preference on what feels more satisfying as well, and how visual you are, or if you're a numbers person and you really analyze how much you're paying in interest based on your balance. So I would spend an afternoon one day and kind of play around with the numbers and see what your picture looks like. That was a lot of words to answer that question. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mary. We have another one coming from Cedric. He wanted to know, for Texas Legal, can you explain each benefit is available once per plan year? So yes, if you're looking at your group flyer for the select and the preferred plan, it lists all of the benefits available under your Texas Legal plan. When we say each benefit is available once per plan year, what that means is if you use the adoption benefit and you just started your benefits in March and then you wanted to do a second adoption, you would not have that benefit available to you until the following March once your benefits renew. Same thing, each benefit is available once per plan year. So if you use all of the benefits available under your plan, they would renew again once your new plan year came about. So if that was for you, if that happens to fall in March, once you come around to March again, they're all available once again. So I don't have any other questions coming in. I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody in case anybody wanted to take the opportunity to ask a question on the line. All right. So I don't know if that worked, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to send those through. We're going to hang on the line for just a few more minutes so that anybody can ask any questions that they have. If you have questions about your specific legal plan, please feel free to call our member services line and they can go more in depth about your specific policy and what's available to you. We also have Mary Jo's information here on the slide so that you have the opportunity to reach out to her if you have any specific questions about the financial portion of the presentation or about BBVA. Now, other than that, I did want to thank everybody for joining us and taking the time to attend this presentation. Hopefully we'll be hosting another one on a different subject and you have the opportunity to join along for that as well.
Good.
So Diana, we did have a question come in from Cedric. He wanted to know, will the legal plan completely pay for a lawyer in a divorce?
That question, it depends which benefit, which plan you purchase. We will have to cap hours since divorces are very difficult. So we do pay the attorney's billable time if the matter is uncontested. Once the matter becomes contested, then we have to cap the hours. I do believe for under the preferred plan, we pay up to 30 hours for the divorce with children, and if it becomes contested. So after the 30 hours, the attorney can bill you directly, and you will receive a 25% discount from their customary rate. You have to pay all the, filing fees, court costs, things like that.
Thank you, Diana.
And we can definitely send out the summary of benefits as well. All that information is there. Keep in mind it does have the 6-month waiting period. If you are married without children, we do pay up to, I do believe it's 15 hours, as long as it's uncontested. We do pay the attorney's billable time, but once it becomes contested, then we do have to cap the hours.
Yeah, and Cedric, I'm going to go ahead and send you our summary of benefits for the preferred plan. Like Diana mentioned, if the divorce is uncontested, we do cover all hours. If it's contested without children, we'll cover 15 hours. And with children, we'll cover up to 30 hours. So I'll go ahead and send you the summary of benefits, which is going to include more information and details about what's covered with each benefit.
Okay, thank you.
And then just to note, the divorce benefit does have a 6-month waiting period from the time you become effectively enrolled with Texas Legal. So if you became a member today, your policy would be effective July 1st. And then from there, you would have to wait 6 months before the divorce benefit would be available to you. In case you missed that during the original presentation. The bankruptcy benefit also has a 3-month waiting period from the time you become effective, but all other benefits are going to be available to you as soon as you become an effective member with Texas Legal.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
What about real estate? I'm about to buy a house in about 2 months. I saw real estate on there. Are there any benefits with the legal program for buying a house?
So yes, we do have the residential real estate transaction benefit that's available to the primary policy holder only. It does cover all hours. It includes representation in the transaction of selling or purchasing a primary residence, a single piece of real property. So that's also included in the summary of benefits that I'm sending out to you. And if anyone else would like to see the summary of benefits, I'd be happy to send that out as well.
You're sending that to my email?
Yes, it's sedru@yahoo.
Correct.
All right. All right, that just went out.
All right, thank you all. That was very good information. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Our pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll let everybody else get back to the rest of your day. Thank you again for joining us. And like I mentioned, if you have any questions for myself or Diana or about your specific policy, please reach out to our member services team. If this is related to the financial portion of the webinar or have any questions about BBVA, reach out to Mary Jo and she'll be happy to answer those questions for you. I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you.